Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this month's Craft Your Life podcast with Alt New. We are so honored to have the amazing Carissa Wiley join us this month. Hello, Carissa.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How could I be having more fun joining you for a little chat and getting to know you better for our listeners? How amazing is that?
It's kind of hard to have more fun than being with me.
It really is. I mean, even your name, Sprinkled with Glitter. I mean, love already. Like love. Not even having met you, love the name. Like it's like, oh yeah, she is my person. Like she's sprinkled with glitter. Love it.
Well, we've never met in person, but we have spent a lot of time together online through different retreats and stuff. So I feel like I know you. So
back at you. But I am so excited waiting for the day when we actually are in the same place at the same time. That will be very exciting.
Yes, and I am looking forward to that too. So I'm going to have to make my way to an Altenew in-person retreat at some point or something. So
that would be exciting. That would be off the charts exciting. That would be so exciting. That would be.
I am always game for travel. I just have to say that. I'll hop on a plane on a whim. I tell my kids all the time, you have to keep your passports up to date. Yes. You never know when you're going to have to hop on a plane to Italy or something. It might happen.
Yes. I'm like you. You want me to travel tomorrow to Cali? Sure. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll go.
That's fine.
Let's do it.
That's good. I'm good. I love travel because it's just getting to see all the different places out there in the world is absolutely amazing. So, but yes,
I agree.
We do have to somehow coordinate being in the same place at the same time sometime. It would be fabulous. We have so much fun online. And I think a lot of our listeners or watchers on YouTube can actually relate to this because they've had a lot of virtual friendships develop as well. Not something we ever anticipated being a common thing in our atmosphere, but it is now. We have so many virtual friends that you can say, well, I've never met, but that's my friend.
I agree. And then when you do finally meet them in person, it's like, oh my goodness, how is this even real? It feels so unreal when you meet them in person. I did have the pleasure of teaching an in-person event earlier this year. And it was so much fun. And then those moments when you get together with other online creators too. I've had a weekend like that this year too. It's so much fun because I spend so much of my time knowing them and interacting with them online or through my phone or whatever. But to see them in person, to give them hugs, to hang out and just spend quality time together is amazing.
Yeah. And I've been so fortunate. I went to an event in May and I got to meet so many of the creators in person that I've just seen as an inch, on a screen. Yeah. And it's something different. And it's that bond of crafting. It is so unique that we have in this community that I just don't think other communities have the bond that we do as crafters.
It's true. And I have to say, no, there is no one in my direct personal sphere that I interact with in person on a regular basis that is a crafter. Yes. I have no in-person crafty friends. I have no one that I can invite. I have a place for someone to craft in my craft room with me, but I have literally no one in my area that I know that crafts. So it's just kind of interesting because it's I know more people through the online sphere of creating than I do the in-person sphere, which I feel like years ago, it was maybe the opposite. You had your crafty get-togethers or even direct sales parties where people got together and created together. But now it's kind of it's a virtual online community that ends up developing into personal relationships where sometimes we get to meet up and be with each other. And that's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. It's funny when you tell people, I had the pleasure of doing that. My best friend for years now, I was going to meet her and I said, I'm going to meet my friend. And the guy goes, if she's your friend, don't you know her? And I'm like, I've never met her in person. And he was like, what? He didn't understand. It was so foreign. And that's why I say crafters have a special bond. Because to us, it's normal. You know, we have all these friends online, and we have this community online that is so supportive of us. But when you talk to people that don't understand the crafting community, and they're like, how do you have a friend that you have never met before? That doesn't make sense.
And like, I grew up in the era where the internet was new, and like, you were not allowed to meet people that you had met online. Like, you did not. That was like serial killer status, right? Like, you do not go meet these people. And I think even still, like, if my kids came to me and they were like, I met someone online and I'm going to meet them.
You'd be like, no.
If they were not a crafter, I'd be like, no.
Yeah, no. Hard no.
Wait, what do they do? Do they make cards? Do they stamp? Are they a scrapbooker? Those are all approved. All the other columns, no.
Are they an Altenewy? I mean, that's a fair question as well. You know, do they love Altenew? Fair question.
Yeah, love Altenew. Do they have any Altenew stamps in their stash? That's how we would determine whether or not they were safe.
It's funny how we as parents, you know, determine as well. You know, crafting always comes into it. You know, it just.
Yeah, but mom, you meet your friends that you've met online. Okay, it's totally different. Although, I'm going to be the hypocrite in that situation. Like, it's okay. What's okay for me is not okay for you.
We do have a lot of sharp tools too as crafters. I was just thinking of that. We do have a lot of pointy things, don't we?
Yes.
So for folks, Carissa let the cat out of the bag a little bit because she is called Mom. So for folks that don't know, tell us a little bit about Carissa Wiley, the non-crafter.
Oh, wow. Carissa Wiley, the non-crafter, has a lot of moving parts. I think that people are kind of surprised because I am very active in the crafting space to find out all the other things that I do. But I am a wife. I'm a mother of 3 adult children. I am a fur mommy to 2 dogs. I'm a registered nurse in the pediatric department here in the local hospital. And I also am very active in our church community and stuff like that. So, I mean, I am moving and shaking all the time.
I was going to say, where's the other person?
I don't know that I know how to be any other way, like other than just going and doing all the time. And I love all the things that I do. Yeah. So there's not a part that I would give up. There might be one part I might totally give up. It might be the actual, I will always in my heart be a nurse, but if I can make the transition to do this full time and then do that a little less, I probably would. So because that would be the only thing, but I will always in my heart be a nurse.
Oh yes. So yes. And that's a special group too. My cousin is a registered nurse. God love her. She does amazing work and helps people. And she's now up in management, but she still is on the floor, like seeing patients and checking in. And so you can't take a nurse out of a person. I don't think it's just that caring. And in this industry, we have a lot of caring professions. We have a lot of nurses. We have a lot of like social workers, a lot of teachers. Like we have a lot of folks their chosen profession is to help people. And then we do in this craft as well, whether it's sending a card or teaching a class or just supporting another fellow crafter. I mean, this community is basically support. So I don't think the nurse, I think it will always stay with you, which is phenomenal. Yeah.
So that it's fun. I love being with the kids. I've always worked. My entire nursing career has been centered around maternal child health. So postpartum, NICU, pediatrics, those are where my entire nursing career has been concentrated. And I've been doing that for 13 years. So I know little humans very well.
They are so cute. I mean, you must see a lot of cuteness. Yes.
You know, when 2-year-olds are sick, they are not pleasant people, but I will tell you, I have the pleasure of seeing them go from not feeling well to feeling well. And then they're super cute. And you can see when their personality changes and you're like, they're ready to go home now because they're their spunky little self and they're not screaming at me every time I walk in the room, but they're starting to interact. And so that is, it's really fun to see because just seeing how their personality changes throughout the the healing and the wellness, regaining the wellness, then it's like you see their true self come out, and that's a lot of fun. So that's rewarding. So
I can imagine just to see somebody not feeling well and you've helped them on their journey to feeling a little bit better, or a lot better in some cases, it's amazing.
And earning their trust. I mean, it's easy to earn the trust of like a 30 to 50-year-old adult.
Yep.
It really is. Yep. But to earn the trust of a 1.5, 2-year-old, it's a little trickier, but it's kind of a fun challenge sometimes.
Especially if you're armed with needles. I'm sure that's a really tricky way to build trust there.
Yeah. A lot of times I'll make somebody else do go poke my patient for me, because I'm starting to build my trust with them and I'm not about to go in there with something sharp.
No,
you go poke them.
I'll build the trust. You do the needles.
That's right. Yeah. I'll do everything else, but you've got to poke them. So
now, who is Carissa the Crafter?
Oh, who is Carissa the Crafter? Do you want to know like how I got started, or like
we want to know
why
it
I got
all?
started?
Like this is
okay.
We want to know it all.
So I started as a scrapbooker, actually, which we were my husband and his friends were getting together on Tuesday nights to play basketball. And then all of the wives were like, well, what are we going to do? So we started scrapbooking together on Tuesday nights. So we would order pizza. The guys would play basketball. The girls would do scrapbooking. We would have the kids. They would all run around together. So naturally, we weren't getting a ton of scrapbooking done, but it was kind of one of those things. Then I was introduced to stamping and card making. And I was like, this is amazing. I can sit down and I can totally complete one project in one setting. And I was like, maybe this is it. And really, the scrapbooking got put to the side and I started card making and stamping and that sort of thing. Stamping wasn't really a big part of what I did as scrapbooking.
Yep.
So that was like a whole new world to me. And so that's kind of how it developed into sharing online and teaching online, which is something I love to do. I love to share online. I love to teach online. And my goal in all of it, when I share on YouTube, when I share in virtual retreats, however I'm sharing, my goal is to break everything down really into, manageable steps, right? It's like, I always say, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. So if we can take these projects, when you look at a project, it can sometimes look overwhelming, but if we can break it down and we just go step by step, we don't worry about the next thing. We're just working on this thing right now. And we just make step by step, we make progress. And then anybody can really do that. That's really my goal when I'm teaching, is just to really have people walk away feeling empowered. Don't look at the end result. Let's look at one step at a time. Let's complete that with confidence. And then you can walk away and know, I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
So, but I will tell you kind of a fun story. I do remember stamping when I was a child, and my mom had brought home, and I would be willing to bet it was like back in the day. And I know that Tasneem did a Hero Arts interview with them.
Yes.
Because they're celebrating 50 years. I would be willing to bet it was one of those Hero Arts woodblock stamps back in the day. I was a kid. She brought this home, and she brought home some embossing powder, and it was around the holidays, and we were making Christmas tags with this. And in order to melt the embossing powder, my first experience with embossing powder was melting it over an electric stove.
And do not try this at home now. We have tools. Please do not try this at home now.
Yes. No, there's no need to do that. There's much better ways. But I mean, I think it worked. I don't remember it not working. But I remember like holding it over the electric stove with like tongs and being like, it took forever too. It took forever for it to do it. But that is kind of one of my earliest crafting memories. I remember my mom being crafty when I was a kid. And that is one thing that we did do together, was that Christmas tag project. We embossed over the electric stove. And maybe that's really where I got my start.
Now, do you remember, was the embossing part sparkly? Because, sprinkled with glitter, was it a sparkle
It was
at least?
It was gold. I do remember it was gold.
So I had some shine.
It did have shine. And you know what? I feel like sprinkled with glitter is kind of like maybe a little deceiving in that I don't use glitter on every project. So I think that people, when they hear that name, they're like, oh, what a mess. And I agree with you. Like loose glitter is a mess. But really the glitter is just a nod to all things shiny and sparkly. And I love to just give things, even just a little bit of sparkle can kind of draw the eye in a great way. So like a couple of gems, it doesn't mean like every card project I create is covered in all of these sparkly things. But if you drop a couple like little gems in there that are just kind of grabbing the light and grabbing the eye, you would be surprised at how far that can take a project. And that is where my name comes in for the series that I do for Altenew as well, which is, I believe it's a touch of sparkle.
And why do you do a series for Altenew? Why? You forgot to mention something, I think, that you do.
Oh, yes. I am on the Altenew design team. So every month I share a video on their YouTube channel and a post that coordinates with it on their blog. I also create with their monthly releases, and I do a lot of teaching at the virtual events as well. Yes. So coming up, I'm teaching at the Cozy Comfort Retreat, and I am excited about this one this year. I'm super excited. I can't wait to get my products in my hand. So
it'll be, you will have long since had them by the time our podcast airs, but it used to be you didn't kind of know what was in the kit, and now Altenew shows you it's in the kit. So it's really exciting as a consumer on the consumer side to see like, oh my gosh, then you start thinking, oh, what's going to happen with this? Who's going to do what? And it's exciting. Right. And we're so honored to have you back too. So, because you've been with us before, and we're so honored to have you back and teaching with us.
I love the virtual events. Yeah. They are my favorites.
Yeah.
And that's because there is actually true interaction happening during the teaching. And to me, that's just, I love doing that. So, but it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because even as an instructor, I'll see the products that are in the kit and think, oh, like so-and-so is going to totally use this. And oh, that looks just like this person. So it's really funny because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like she's going to use that, or he's going to use that. And I know he's going to rock that. And sometimes I'm like, I'm going to stay away from that because they're going to do a much better job with that one than I will. So I'm going to pick this one instead. So it is kind of, I don't know that all the creators go through that like thought process, but I'm kind of like, I'll look at the products and go, oh, so-and-so is going to use that. So
and it's
kind of interesting.
I'm glad you said that, because I think we all do that. You're like, oh no, I'm not doing that because they'll do a better job than me at that. But I think that's the beautiful thing about this community, is that we do have people that are so talented at something that you just look in awe at it, even though you are talented in your style and you're amazing in your style. You can still look at others and be in awe, and just, there's so many I'm in awe of that, you look at.
And you know what? Like there's things I look at that there's techniques that I don't love to do.
Yes.
And that other people do love to do. Yep. And so, I think you just kind of find your style, and sometimes it doesn't hurt to dabble in those techniques.
Yes.
And kind of have a little fun with it. But when it starts feeling like, I don't know if I want to do that, then I move on from that technique. I don't force myself to do it. I don't do a lot of like coloring by hand. Now I love me a good stencil, but I don't do a lot of like coloring by hand. I can actually do it.
Yep.
It's not like super amazing. There are some amazing colorists.
Yeah.
I can fake it a little bit. And every now and then I get the urge to do it. And I do. Those are the times that I pull out my alcohol markers and I do that if I have the urge to do it. But I try not to force anything either. So, because really in the end, we want this project or this process to bring joy to us in the process, right? So if I'm in the mood for it, I'll go for it. If I'm not in the mood for it, I'm going to like take that product and turn it a different direction.
And that's good advice too, because we have a lot that wonder, a lot of our viewers that wonder, you're on a design team, like you have a deadline. Like, so what do you do if you get a product and you're like, this is really nice. It's not my jam. But I gotta work with it. So how do you tackle those kind of products that you get that you're like, maybe this isn't in my wheelhouse, but I'm going to make something with it?
So if there's, like, for me, if it's something okay, here's the big lie, right? We see a stamp that's an outline stamp and we think we have to color it.
Yep.
And if that's not like really my jam or really something I'm feeling like doing, then I will use a different technique. I'll stamp it like tone on a background and allow it to be a background element and add texture on my card base and put like a giant sentiment over it. Or one of the things I love to do with an outline image, in feeling like, instead of trying to force myself to feel like I have to color it, I love to like heat emboss white embossing powder on vellum and die cut it out and allow it to kind of speak on its own as an outline element rather than feeling like I have to add color to it. So I think that sometimes too, there's a product that you maybe are looking at it in the packaging and it just doesn't feel like maybe I don't feel inspired by it or I just don't know how to use it. Oftentimes I'll just get it out and start doing something with it. Just start. And a lot of times I don't end up like completing a project where I started with it, but that just like taking the first step and starting something with it, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that it would look like that, because it is different when you like start using it on your own. And then it kind of starts to speak to you a little bit and tell you, okay, I want to be used in this way. So I would say if you're ever like up against that, just start somewhere, whether it's inking it up and stamping it down or foiling it onto your cardstock, and look at it from a piece that you've actually put some effort into, and it may change your mind on how you feel about it. That's how I feel. I feel like it starts, as you start to use it, it starts to kind of speak to you and you kind of can see it in a different way.
Yeah. And I've had some of those become my favorite. Like I started out working with it and I was like, this isn't me. Like, I'm an imposter. This isn't me. And then, as you work through it, like an ink color's like, come here, and all right, grab you, and, you throw some splatter on and you get out the heat tool, and then you're like, whoa, I did a thing. I did, and unfortunately I live alone. So I just kind of look around like, I did this, like, yay.
You can always text me a picture and I'll cheerlead with you. Like, hey, look what I did. You know what? It's really funny because I'm often creating when I'm home alone. Yeah. And so I don't have anybody to share like it with in the moment either. So I totally get that.
We'll have to text back and forth, like thumbs up and like little hearts of our photos.
I like that. I love the way you did that. Yeah.
This one put me through the ringer, but I won in the end.
Yeah. Can I tell you though? I think those things are the best thing for our creativity. And it's the thing that we don't want to challenge ourselves with a lot of times, but can often give us confidence to work with different products, to try new things, to really help us feel accomplished. But then again, sometimes those things end up being some of our favorite things. So I would encourage you every now and then, and I think the retreats and stuff are a great way to do this.
Yes.
Is to try something that you wouldn't normally do. And I think a lot of times when we attend different virtual events, retreats, and that sort of thing, we are more apt to actually force ourselves to try that technique when we're all together on that one day doing it together than we would be just seeing a video on YouTube and going, oh, well, that's nice, but I'm really not interested in trying that.
Yeah.
So it's a little different feeling when it's like, and then you find things that you really enjoy.
Yes.
So here would be my challenge. if you're not attending a virtual retreat, totally fine. Find something, find a creator on YouTube that inspires you. Find a technique that they've shared that you wouldn't normally want to try and just give it a try. Push yourself out of that box just a little bit. You may not like it.
Yep.
You may not. But I think pushing us outside of our normal comfort zone inspires us in other ways in the techniques that we do love. So it crosses that barrier. So even if you don't end up loving it, and then you might find something you do love. So that would be my challenge.
And it's just
push yourself beyond.
It's just another skill in your toolbox. You know, it's just something else that, you know, either you've learned to do, and maybe like Carissa said, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you're like, I don't think so. But there may be something later on that you're like, oh, you know what would work perfect here? Yeah. That one technique, you know, that you were like, that one day. You know, and yeah, I mean, if you haven't taken a virtual class or one of the retreats, definitely check those out, because it does. And that's the thing I loved about them from the start, is that you look at a project, like I always look at the project photos and I'm like, wow, like that, how did they get there? Like that's hard. Like that's really hard to do. And then as they break it down, it's so simple, but the effect you get is so amazing. And so I love that. You know, they take you through. And the Altenew YouTube channel, there's free education on there all the time. And a lot of those creators have their own YouTube channels. Yep. It's all free content. Yeah. And I think we forget that, you know, those are great resources. So, you know, you may not even have to invest in a retreat or something to get the same effect if you're willing to just like push yourself out. Yeah. Those retreats tend to push us out a little bit more, because it's like, we're going to finish all the things that we, you know, we're going to make with this kit or whatever. But you can take stamps that you already own. You don't have to buy all the same things, but you can take those and apply. You can look at the layout that they've used, the techniques that they used, how they used a large stamp in a small way or a small stamp in a big way. And those are all things that you can then grab the things that you already own, apply it to what you're doing, what you're using, what you're creating, and really get a lot of, you know, inspiration and just creativity starts to flow when you use it. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's one of those, if you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, it comes back. It comes back. It's like riding a bicycle. You know, you get on and you may fall down a couple times, but you get back up and off you go. And it's the same thing with your creativity, you know. And we also have, Carissa was talking about free resources, the YouTube channel. We also have Crafting 101 videos that are free over on Altenew. Check those out. There are a lot of swatches that you can get. There's a category called freebies. Go check those out. Lots of opportunities, because we understand not everybody can go to a retreat financially. Right. So we want to make sure everybody has the chance to craft and everybody has content available and the ability to learn. Plus, we have really good sales on our classes a lot of times. So check those out too. And commercial.
I would encourage you also to interact with the creators through commenting on whether it's their Instagram or their YouTube, or Altenew on their YouTube channel. Those things are good for both people involved, right? It fuels the creator to be like, oh, I'm so glad. It makes you feel good to feel like people are appreciating you, but it's also great to be able to connect one-on-one. I read all the comments that come in. I don't always have time to respond to them. Oftentimes, if it's a question, I really do try to get to that. But like, this is such a lovely card, goes such a long way. And I do try to at least acknowledge, like with a heart or whatever, like, I'm seeing this comment and thank you. That is my way of saying thank you so much. And I love to interact with you. So, you know, that's a great way to feel more connected to the creators that you're consuming as well.
Yeah. And that's the amazing thing, is that we do have access to the creators, you know, and so you can leave a comment or you can send an email. I mean, I've sent emails to some before and they respond. Sometimes it takes a little bit, but as you know, the creators are generally very busy creating, so it's okay. Yeah. But, you know, eventually you get a response.
choose to spend a lot of our time doing the creative thing.
Yep.
Like, I know for me, it's like, I want to spend my time creating, and then I have to get to the computer stuff, right? Like all the editing of the photos and the video and the putting together the supply list and the blog post and the this and the that. And it's like, I kind of push that part off as long as possible. In fact, I have to go do a voiceover after we're done recording. That video has to be up in the morning. Ooh. So, it's fine. I have it all edited. I just really have to go in there and talk to the computer for a little bit. So
that's not bad. And I think a lot of crafters are procrastinators, I've noticed in our industry.
Yeah, I'm like, I walk a happy line of that. Like, I'm not too much of a procrastinator. And I'm also kind of one of those people where if I'm going to touch it once, I don't want to touch it again. So oftentimes I'll persevere and just finish, like just blow through all of it, all through those pieces, so that I'm not like, I have to keep going back to it, because that will break my, flow of creating too. So that's me. But there are things that I definitely procrastinate on, but I'm not like the worst procrastinator. I would say. I'm not like because that just stresses me out if things are down to the wire. I don't really like that. Yeah. So like I said, a voiceover, not super big deal. That'll take me about, depending on the video, usually about 1.5 times as long as the video actually is to 2 times as long to get that recorded. And then I can just get it uploaded. It'll be there in time.
Of course it will.
I have to work my nurse job though tomorrow. So I have to get it done like today.
You have to adult tomorrow. You can't play.
I do. So
what right now is your favorite kind of project to make right now?
Favorite kind? I'm loving like simple interactive ideas right now. But simple, not anything that takes like a certain die or anything like that, but just taking like an image and making it move or making it spin or making a shaker from it or something like that. Just simple ways of using things kind of in an interactive way.
Those are so fun.
Is that vague?
No, it's great. And I think we're kind of in that phase where interactive is coming back. I think not that it really went away totally, but I think it's making a return. A lot of cards I'm seeing have some element, like you said, a shaker or a spinner, especially around the holiday season. We see a lot of the spinners because of ornament type shapes and stuff. So it's exciting. It's an exciting place to be, but I'm like you. I've tried with the dies and I am such a failure. Like Mommy Lay and I were going to do one together to see if we could get through it and put it together, because I'll make it. And then like, I'm the bull in the china shop. So I just like, I go to turn it and rip it off. And so it's just a challenge. So I like the idea of no die and just, making it on your own, like a shaker or something. I like that I like that level.
Well, and I think that, like, if you look at the bare bones of some of those actual interactive dies, you can kind of, like, see the bones of how they work. And you can, like, kind of take that and apply it to other things to make it, like, spin or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's kind of a fun way to do it. Like, the other day I took a large image. It was kind of symmetrical. And I just cut a hole in the middle of it with a circle die. And then I cut several more of those circles, stacked them up, and I just popped that original image with the hole in it right over that disc, right on top of my card. Then that instantly becomes a spinner. You trap that in there with a sentiment that's a little bit larger than the opening, just stuck to that disc, and you've got something that spins. So it doesn't have to be super complicated, but sometimes the process of figuring those things out kind of can be inspiring too. So
yes, and you're so proud when you figure it out, because I'm going to throw it out here. Like Jennifer McGuire, she does these, and I'm like,
engineer.
Wow. Like engineer brain. Yeah. I have social worker brain. Mine does not go that way. So I'm like flabbergasted whenever I see a movement card. So I'm kind of like you at the end. If I figure it out, I'm like, oh my God, I did a thing.
But in the end, let's be real. Nurses, social workers, we're problem solvers, right?
Yes.
It applies.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I think that's kind of where it all comes in.
It may take
I am like amazing at like working out cords, like
I
because of all the IV lines we do.
Remember back in the day when like you'd have a jewelry box with necklaces and a ball? I always got that because I'm excellent at it. The cords, all that. Oh yeah. Tetris.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's my jam. That's
Yeah.
Fitting things into boxes. That's where I live. But figuring out the engineering. No.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing though. If you can learn the base of it, like if you can learn the base function of it, then it's something that you can apply to other things, right? It's like some people are afraid to try a shaker card.
Yes.
A shaker card's very easy. And once you get the concept of it, then it's something that you can apply to so many different shapes and stamps and dies that you have in your stash. So really push yourself out of that zone again to try that, even if you've been afraid to try it. Then kind of when you get your hands on it and you do it and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was, you know?
It builds confidence.
And now I can do this.
Build confidence up, you know? Everybody, because you did it. You did a thing. And it's always very exciting when you do a thing because that's a big accomplishment.
It is, for sure.
Now, how in this big, beautiful, crafty world did you find Altenew?
Oh my goodness. Altenew has been a part of my crafty journey for so long. So long. I honestly think I must have come across Altenew, Tasneem, and Jen at a Creativation like back in the day. Because I taught Altenew Academy classes when Altenew Academy was like brand new.
Yeah.
I feel like. So how long has that been around? I'm not sure.
I think 2014.
And my relationship with them was like prior to that. So I've known Altenew for a while.
Do you remember your first stamp set that you got?
I went back. Who was I working with? Maybe Mitzi on like I don't know. I think I had something on my blog way back in the day. I can't even remember. I had to go back to find it. And I was almost like, do I want to share that? Like seeing your journey going back that far, you're like, wow, I've come a long way.
It's a little traumatic. I've done it too.
And
it's traumatic.
I was sharing it confidently back then too. So there you go.
I looked at my thing and I'm like, what were you thinking? Like talking to myself as I'm going through my old blog. I'm like, oh my gosh, what were you thinking? You know?
Yeah. It is. It's interesting. It's my videos have come a long way. My photos have come a long way. My styles come a long way, but I think I kind of found my style. I'm kind of locked into that now. And I think that that's okay. Every now and then I do try to like go outside of that in some way, just so that it's not like, it doesn't get boring for me. It doesn't get boring though, because I can take something, apply the same style to some new product, and that's enjoyable to me. So you don't always have to be like completely out of the box. You can put your toe out, you know,
or just open a window. You don't even have to go out. Just open the window. A little fresh air inside the box. You know? It doesn't have to be much.
For sure.
But the box is definitely comfortable. I mean, do you find yourself a lot of times just like, I could do something different, but I'm loving it right here, so I'm sticking. Is that?
You know, sometimes I do. And then a lot of times what will happen is I will leave that project right there and just finish that and then start something completely new and go, but this time I'm going to do this different. So then I have like the confidence of creating something I love with that product, something that's comfortable. I'm familiar a little more with the product. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it weird, or, you know, something like that. I'm going to go like blue on the leaves instead of doing my normal pink and green, or, you know, something like that. And then as you start kind of putting your toe out of the box, then you're like, okay, I like this. Okay, now let's do this instead of this. So, I mean, I think that's valuable too. So
now, do you get stuck? I personally get stuck with colors where I just love, like I've the three that we released most recently, the Sun-Kissed Delights, Jade Dreams, and the Blushberry Bliss. I'm obsessed and I am stuck. Like, I can't leave those. I love them. I can't leave them. So do you have periods of time where there's a product you just can't leave and it's your best friend and
you're just like, I can't quit you. Yeah, I do. I mean, if you know me, I'm a pretty solid, like pink and some sort of aqua, minty, blue, greeny kind of, I love those. So how I make it more comfortable for me to kind of push myself beyond that is I'll start with one of those colors that I'm really comfortable with.
Yep.
And then I will bring in something a little more unexpected if I'm trying to push myself out. So I'm not trying to like abandon myself completely and do something that's not comfortable, that doesn't feel good at all. But I'm starting with one part that feels comfortable, and then I'm bringing in all the things that maybe I'm not as comfortable with. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with being comfortable or stuck in a color if you love that. It's gonna run its course.
Yes.
It's gonna finish its thing, and then you're gonna be like, okay, you're gonna know when you're done with it, and you're like, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've been using sparkling clear sequins on my projects for ages. I feel like I'm not over them. So I don't let anybody tell me I need to be over them either. I do what I like.
And please don't ever be over them. They're fabulous. So please, I hope you're not ever over them. I hope it's something that...
You know what? But they've been around for a long time. I've been using them for a long time, but I still love them and I still like them. And so that's another thing we can't get caught up in as crafters, is that if it's something that you love, if it's something that you enjoy and you're loving the end result, don't try new things, but don't let that have to be like, I'm done with that just because I'm trying this. Like, still bring that in. Still bring in the thing that brings you joy, because in the end, really, this is, our leisure time, our downtime that we're using to do these things. And you don't want to make that frustrating.
No.
And you want to end up with something that you love and you're proud to give.
Yes.
So like if you are like, the person that loves distressed edges, and maybe that doesn't feel like the trend right now, but that's something that you love.
Yep.
Don't stop doing it just because no one else is doing it.
No.
Do what you love. Try new things, but do what you love too. So,
and that's what
I'm giving you permission.
You've gotten homework today and permission. So you're good. Everybody's good.
You're good. You're good.
And that's what I always tell people is do it until you are proud, because it's your creation, your vision, whatever it is. If you're proud of it, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. That's where you are. And that's beautiful. I mean, and we were talking about looking back at our own journeys and being horrified a little bit, and that's the thing. It's great. And like you said, I could definitely see in the beginning, I didn't know who I was. And as you look through, my blog, at least when I look through my blog, I found who I was. And you can kind of see, I took some side road trips, here and there to try things out, and then came back on my road. And, I live it clean and simple. Clean and simple is my jam. I love it. I don't feel overwhelmed by it. And it's funny that you can get overwhelmed. When you're putting things, because mixed media, I get very overwhelmed. Like, I'm like, is it too much?
Yeah.
Does it look okay? And then I start panicking. And
I feel that.
It's hard. It's beautiful in the end. And I've made some beautiful mixed media projects. But for me, that's a place where going out of that box, I need a strong cup of coffee first to be tough. So.
Well, and then you're going to have like, okay, I'll be really honest, because I mean, like, I don't want everybody to think I'm always 100% inspired or 100% like I've been for about a week now, just kind of totally like, and I think it's because, life is in there too. I've got lots of things going on and coming from all different directions and all the things that I do. And I've just kind of been like, I'm not ready to create today.
Yep.
And I don't have any deadlines at this moment. I have some stuff I can get ahead on, but I'm like, I'm not going to force it.
Yep.
I need a moment to just kind of like breathe a little bit, like a little bit of breathing room.
Yep.
And so I've allowed myself to do that this last week. Now, do I have things I could work on? I have a whole stack on my desk, like 3 things. And I think I'm actually feeling like the readiness come back after kind of just taking a moment to just say, I'm not there right now. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
because there are some,
we need those moments.
There are some days I'm like, is my creativity gone? Like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and
you know what? I didn't get to the point where I was like, I'm freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I will never be able to do this again. I just was like, I just don't feel like doing this. And if and it's a little bit different when you're doing it for, you know, a job and, you know, a YouTube channel or whatever, deadlines and that sort of thing, because it's like, I do have to come up with something by a certain amount of time. So not everybody is going to be bound by this, but it sometimes I'm just like, I'm not there today and I'm okay with not being there today. I know it's going to come back because I've been doing this long enough to know that sometimes you just go through a moment where you're just like, I don't feel that today. And so I've been working on other things and doing other things and getting ahead in other areas. And then I think Friday I'm ready to hit it. And I'm thinking about going live on my YouTube channel this Friday. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I'm going to do it.
I love it. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we're going. I love it. That's how my life is. I don't know what we're doing, but we're going to have fun. And here we go. Let's go.
And then there's some points where it's just like, okay, I've taken my break. I've taken my rest and maybe I don't feel inspired, but I just need to like put some ink on paper. And then it starts to go, okay, you know, and it starts to ignite. And like, then pretty soon you're in there for 2 days straight, you know. Yeah. Making stacks and stacks of cards. So it's normal. You're not weird if you go through those moments and it's totally fine. So
now what are your sources of inspiration? How do you get inspired?
So honestly, when I'm like, I need something to inspire me, I try not to look at cards.
Oh,
I know that's weird, but I try to go on like Pinterest or something and look at home decor or fashion and look at the patterns on the fabrics and the colors and the way they've used the colors on the fabrics. Or even, here's a little secret about me. I have a laser cutter. I love to do it. It's not something I usually share online, like my projects or anything, but I'll look at like laser cut projects and how they've layered things or how they've used text in certain ways. Or even, I just try not to look at cards because I feel like if I look at cards, I have the tendency to want to just copy a card instead of using an element or a piece of something as a jumping off point. So if I keep myself from looking at like cards specifically, it's easier for me to break out the elements that are drawing me to something like that color combination or that background used in that way. Wallpaper. I love wallpaper. I really want to wallpaper my whole house. I have textured walls though, so I love pattern. So like different things like that. In fact, Alta New Academy, I believe I taught a class called Inspiration Ignited, Inspiration or Muse.
Muse, I think.
Something like
Muse. Yes.
Okay.
Something. Yes.
It's all about finding its inspiration in other things and how to pull that. And that's great. Those products, that's been so long ago. Those products probably aren't even available, but it's good information to like, okay, I could take that and apply that to this and it's like finding your muse in other areas. Because I don't particularly love to look at people's cards. Yep. In fact, most of the time I'm like, I am so mad I didn't think of that. But if I'm going to find inspiration, I love to look at what people are creating, but I try not to use that as my inspiration source. If I'm like dry and I need inspiration, I try to look in other areas. Nature is a great way to find it too. So,
I mean, I honestly have been at the doctor's office, and when you're awkwardly like looking at your phone, but you're taking a picture of somebody's shirt because it's like so inspiring. Like you see a color combo and you're like, oh, how did I not think of that? And you're like, oh yeah, I'm just emailing Susie. Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
So nobody knows you're taking a picture of their shirt.
Yeah. It's kind of like when we go to try to take selfies of ourselves and not look suspicious either, but we're like, I need a selfie of myself right now, but everybody's staring at me. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm emailing someone.
And then you get them with the, because you gotta do the smile. So yeah, I've done that. Try to sneak a selfie and everybody's kind of paying attention. You're just like, da, 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 da.
Yeah, I'm that person. I'm kind of to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm that person.
And that's okay. I mean, I think there are a lot of secret selfie and secret photo takers for, I think a lot of people do that. They'll see something and be like, oh, that'd be a great card, like take a picture.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I've even used my purses. I have some Vera Bradley purses. And let me tell you, colors on there, and then the floral, like the arrangement of the florals, it's like, oh, no brainer. I'm just going to be inspired by this, So it's great. It is the world around you. It really is. It's a good excuse, like you said, nature. It's a good excuse to go for a walk. Maybe your neighbors have flowers in their yards that you've never seen before, or colors that you've never seen before. So the world around you really is there and just waiting for you to be inspired by something in it.
Right. And then like a couple weeks ago, we were over at the California coast, the Central Coast in California. We were walking around in a neighborhood there, and there were some succulents in colors we had never seen before. So like, that's a great place. Like succulents don't have to be that like earthy gray green. Yep. They come in other colors. So
I did not know that. I'm very excited. I'll have to Google California succulents now.
You know what? I'm not, I think we go through this every time the Secret Garden Retreat comes up and they ask me about my green thumb. And I'm like, I have not a green thumb. I don't know what kind of flowers. I usually have to Google, like, what does this flower look? I mean, like the name of the stamp set will have like the type of flower. And it's like, oh, well, what do these look like in nature? Can I replicate that?
Yep.
Or maybe I want to take it a totally different direction and make it something that you can't find in nature.
Yes.
So
I mean, that's the fun of what we do, right? We create the world we want to see, essentially. Because I've looked up some of the flowers and I'll be like, I don't like it in that color. I don't want it in this color.
Right.
So, I mean, that's great. We can.
Or even if you know what the flower is, sometimes if you like Google it and you think of a certain flower in a certain way and they come in other colors. And then you're like, wow, I never like poppies. They're not all red.
No. Yep.
So, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, well, take a little Google or a little Pinterest search and see what you can find. And you might be inspired to take it in a whole new direction.
And pull out some new colors. I mean, that's what I first fell in love with. Because stamping was all the rage back then. And then Altenew had these layering stamps. And then you had to have the colors, though, to go with the layering stamps. Because, I mean, they looked like you could touch them. I couldn't. I was flabbergasted.
Right. They were like real.
They were real. And, and now with the stencils, that's where I'm living in love. They stole my heart. Now you're a big stenciler too, right? You love the stencils.
I like to stencil, yes. But you know what? I've had the itch to do some of those layering stamps again.
Yes.
Because it's like, it's all like, I feel like it's all shifted to the stencils. Yeah. And I'm like, but sometimes I just think I want to stamp it.
Yeah. It's
a totally different look. I mean, the way the ink interacts with paper is totally different using a stencil than a stamp.
Yes. Yep.
So absolutely. That photo realism is there with a stamp. The stencils are great because you can add color and add depth and add dimension, but the way that the ink goes on to the paper is just a little bit different. It's like, to me, I've always said like the difference between using like a colored cardstock or going direct to paper with your ink. You get different looks.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's another way you can really easily change up something. Like try your ink for your colored base instead of, a cardstock. So that's always fun to do too. I kind of like the rough look or that imperfect look that you can get when you're inking something as opposed to starting with just like, so it just depends on like the mood, but I have felt like the urge to go back to those layered stamps recently. So
more homework from Carissa. Grab out your layered stamps, my friends, and stamp something beautiful for us.
Breathe new life into them with the new colors that have been coming out so consistently from Alta New.
So gorgeous.
So beautiful.
We love new colors. I
love color.
Yes.
I love to experiment with color. I need an assistant. I'm looking at all my Alta New inks over there. I'm like, I need someone to swatch them for me because I just like, it helps me so much to see them on the paper and how they stamp and stuff. So I could use an assistant.
Well, I'll love to swatch. I'll come see you and swatch your inks. I'm happy to do that. I love to swatch. I have some weird likes. Like I like to do paperwork. And my husband's like, you do? What? What's wrong with you?
I don't mind doing swatches. I think the thing is like, I have a finite amount of time. And so it's like, if I need to create something with it, like I need to move on that rather than spend my time making the swatches. But I think that's the only reason I haven't gotten to that yet. It's just like this year has been so busy for me.
I know.
In a good way.
It was just January and now we're filming this in August. It's like, holy Toledo.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's flying by. I'm loving every minute of it. I'm not sad about being so busy this year. It's been so much fun. It's been a lot. I've just had a lot going on behind the scenes. I have more coming up this year still. So, just like, it's fun. It's fun. But like some of the little things have to go away when you are as busy. And so I just feel like I need like a little assistant or a little elf or a little fairy to come help me out.
Speaking of the crafty gnomes, they love to help play our game that we finish the podcast with, which is the word association game. So we give you 3 words and you can connect them to crafting or you do connect them, not you can. You have to connect them to crafting. But I do allow the 6 degrees of crafty Kevin Bacon to get you there if you have to connect a few things before you get there, because some of the words are a little terrifying. But they've been so nice the past few podcasts. So hopefully the crafty gnomes will do your swatches and be very kind today. All right.
I would love that.
I have your first word is glass.
Glass. Craft mat.
Yeah. GLASS, glass.
Yeah. Like I use a glass craft mat or a glass work surface every time I create.
There you go.
That was
easy. Next one, vacation.
How do I want to connect this? I feel like
lots of ways.
Vacation destinations are a great place to find inspiration for color and crafting.
Yep. And you just took a crafty vacation, so you could refresh. So lots of vacation possibilities. So we're doing good. Okay. This last one's a doozy. Tomato. Or tomato, whichever way.
Tomato, let's call the whole thing off. How about it? Well, I mean, I'm sure you have some sort of tomato red-ish ink to use in a color palette. Inspire you in a new way.
Yes. And I think there are actually colors out there called tomato, I think. I think
probably
there's one somewhere.
I would guarantee. Yeah.
I was thinking you'd go with it.
Yeah. Tomato soup sounds really good with a grilled cheese sandwich.
You got to have the grilled cheese. And it's got to be crunchy and the cheese oozy. Yeah. It's although it's a little too hot for soup today. It's 80. So.
Oh, well, I wish it was only 80. Let me pull up my weather real quick because you probably are going to be like, whoa. And these lights are starting to get
Is that when you is that when you sit in the air conditioning and you eat your soup and your grilled cheese?
Yeah. It's in an ice bath. Yeah. It's going to be 107 today here.
Holy Toledo.
107. Yeah. So 80 sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, well, we have humidity. We have a lot of humidity here. So
yeah, we don't have as much humidity here. So
that's a good thing. Well, they weren't too bad. And I thought, tomato, you could have gone to singing as well. Singing was, because you got the song. So, but when I first saw it, I'm like, woohoo, that's a rough one.
That's like really random.
It's very
really random.
Yeah, but the vacation kind of freaked me out a little bit because we did talk about travel. So sometimes these words come up and I'm like, were you guys listening? Like,
yeah, they were.
They were. So. They always are. Thank you so much, Carissa, for joining us and getting a chance to know you even better, all the crafty secrets. And folks, don't forget, you do have some homework to try for Carissa.
Lots.
And we're so excited to see you in things coming up at Altenew and monthly on the Altenew YouTube channel. So look out for Carissa's beautiful designs in the hops, as well as her monthly videos, and look for her around her treats because she tends to show up there sometimes. So check those out. But thank you so much for making time in your really, really busy schedule to have a chat with us.
Been so much fun. Thanks for having me. I am so happy to connect with the Altenew audience even more. So I can't wait to see any questions that anybody has for me.
Yeah, if you guys want to post questions on YouTube, feel free to post those. We do check those. So if you have questions for Carissa or for the podcast, please let us know. We love to be able to answer your questions. And we are so excited to end this podcast because it means we're going to have another one. How exciting is that? So we had our lovely chat with Carissa, and we are so thankful you all joined us for this wonderful podcast to learn a little bit more about Carissa's journey in crafting, in life, and in Altenew. And tune in next month. You never know who the next guest is going to be, and we're excited to see you there. Everybody, don't forget to craft your life. Goodbye, everyone.
Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and everywhere you can find podcasts to keep up with every new episode. Email us at support@altenew.com with your feedback. And don't forget to craft your life.
Hello, crafters. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching.